Greetings and welcome back, everyone, to Into the Nexus, the podcast all about Heroes of the Storm. I'm Garrett Weinzerl. I'm sitting here with Kyle Ferguson. And Kyle, this is our last episode that only has 2 digits to dictate what number it is.
That's true. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. We're going to move into
this game has been out for 2 years?
I believe so. I mean, we started in the tech alpha, so not officially launched, no.
I think we can say now officially launched, though.
Actually, no. It's been a year since official launch, correct? Because Heroes of the Dorm was a year ago now, and it was still in beta. So no, the game has been out for about a year.
That's true, yes. And that would have been people signing up to get into the beta, the closed beta, in order to participate in Heroes of the Dorm last year.
Yep.
What a wild ride we've been on.
That was a long testing phase, because it has been long enough for us to have 2 years worth of episodes, just about. But the
One
game
could also make the argument the last year has kind of been testing. Now that we have bans in the game, it's official.
Kyle, you're taking my role. Usually I'm the one to slip in those little underhanded jabs at how this game hasn't progressed as fast as I really think it should have.
Are you happy? Are you pretty pleased with things?
I'm pretty pleased. Yes, and it's all personal, right? It's all about what's most important to me and not what is necessarily the most important for the entire player base, right?
Forget the health of the game.
That is how, exactly. Screw health of the game. When it comes down, if you are on the internet giving your opinion, you don't look at the larger picture. Kyle, you make all of your opinions and you bring up all of the points that only apply to your one specific, very selfish desire. And for me, while I'm excited bans are here, no RemMR reset, so it doesn't matter. It does not matter because I'm still stuck in games with people that make questionable decisions. And now they just have more decisions to be questioning.
You run a horse mouth inspection store.
Yes, indeed. I do look that gift horse very much in the mouth. But no, I got to say, overall, now that I've gotten the vinegar out of my system, dude, this patch is amazing. The game is the polish just on the draft screen. All you have to do is look at the draft screen and be like, wow, something big happened. If you've been playing this game for a while, there's just it's not so different that it is jarring, but there are so many nice little touches in the terms of art and effects and the way that they handled the band system. And I know I'm jumping the gun and getting a little bit into the news, but honestly, man. I gotta say, I'm impressed. Team 1 did a damn good job.
I'm glad you started there, too, because it's nice to have all these sort of actual tools in the game now, but it does look fantastic. We could have gotten more of an Excel spreadsheet. Here you go, here's your banning. I know that's not Blizzard style, but it is very pretty. Even the little stars zooming by in the background, the 3D animations that pop up, the removal of whatever that thumbprint was in the middle of the darn loading screen.
Yes, the thumbprint. Yes, exactly. I love the design of this game. The UI, it's fantastic. They've done a really good job, and with everything that's all the little touches that have been added, it seems so much more full featured with this last patch. Just in 3 days of playing the game, I can't believe we ever had Heroes of the Storm without a death recap. That quickly, it has become a normal thing for me, a tool that I always look at now when I die. And you know what? It's had this kind of strange effect of calming me the F down when I die, because all of a sudden I have something to analyze. I don't just die and get angry and wait. I can be like, okay, well, what really went wrong there?
Supporters are rejoicing as well, because now you can see incoming heals, too, that happened before you died. So you can say, check it. Totally threw you that heal. You died.
And I love that it is its own tab, and follow me on this, it is its own tab under the tab screen. So if you hit tab, there are now 3 tabs, as opposed to the previous 2 that we had. And the third one is your most recent death cap. So if you are me, and you frequently get bullied into supporting, and people tend to complain that they think you didn't try and save their bacon, you can be like, no, your death recap's still there, buddy, unless you died again. So you can go look, although I would prefer you play the game, and see that I did indeed attempt to save your bacon. But your bacon went out of the pan and straight into the fire, my friend. Anyways.
Your bacon was not as delicious as other bacons I had to season.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. So, anyways, there's a lot to talk about, and I'm having trouble getting through this intro because there's so much stuff I'm just so ecstatic about, and I just want to yell at the top of my lungs, I love this game! But we have some announcements we need to make, Kyle, before we get to that.
Sure, nice and formal.
Yeah, first of all, if math or counting is not your strong suit, you may not have noticed, today is episode 99, which means next week, on Thursday, what will the date be? April 7th, Kyle, you and I will be celebrating episode number 100 of Into the Nexus. So this is what's going to be happening. We don't honestly know what the episode is going to look like. Because gone are the days when we only had one podcast and it hit 100 and we had all the time in the world to overthink the momentous occasion. But I promise you this, it will be fun and a hangout, and knowing our usual 100th episode's probably not going to be super nitty-gritty in the strategy, but it's going to be a good time.
A celebration, as it were.
Yeah, exactly. It's a celebration of the show, of Heroes of the Storm. We're going to have a good time. Also, if you'd like to, if you listen to Angry Chicken, a bunch of people send in calls on themselves saying why the show's fun, why they like it, why they like listening to it. And if you would like to send in a recording of yourself saying why Into the Nexus is so awesome, this is the one time really ever that we get to say, tell us why we're awesome, people. Tell us why we're so great. Other than 5-star reviews on iTunes. But let's ignore that for now. So send in those sound clips to itncast@gmail.com. And if we get enough of them, I'll make a supercut and we'll play it. And it'll be fun. Warm fuzzies will be felt.
Yeah.
By most of us. Also, Blizzard is sending us some Asmodunk posters to give away next week, so make sure you tune in live, because we're going to be throwing them out to the chat room. And we, depending on how many they save, we'll see if we can save one for myself. I mean the patrons.
Of course.
I mean our patrons, yeah. Really want that Asmodunk poster. So anyways, big fat thanks to Blizzard and Team 1 for sending those over to us. Tune in next week. Maybe win yourself a poster. And I'm looking forward to it, man. I can't believe the show's been going for 100 episodes. We still have a ways to go to catch up with StarCast, but we're getting there.
That's true. That was 186.
186 or 186 or 187, I believe.
Yeah.
So we will find out. And I will find out right now. 188 was our last episode of StarCast. With no fanfare about it ending. Because we're like, yeah, we're coming back for Legacy of the Void. And then it came out and we're like, we're good.
I refuse to lament the fact that I am this busy in this line of work.
Oh, I was just saying that I was so disappointed by the ending. It would have been a kind of a downer episode.
Yes, that too. That too.
That wouldn't have been the best way to put a cap on that show. I also talked a little bit about it on the Angry Nerd, so on the most recent episode. So if folks want to hear my thoughts on that, go on over there where I don't hold back my feelings. Also, another huge announcement for us. We are putting on our first ever convention. CreateCon will be happening in Orlando, Florida this July on Saturday, July 30th. You can find out more information at createconvention.net. This is a con that I'm putting together along with the rest of the AImMove.tv producers. We're going to have a live Into the Nexus. You and I, Kyle, maybe some guests. We'll see. You know, getting up in front of a live audience, doing our thing, and it's going to be a really good time. There's also going to be a live Angry Chicken. It's going to be a live Gamers In. It's going to be a live Hearthcast. It's going to be a live Night Attack. Brian Brushwood, Justin Robert Young, they're flying their silly butts all the way to Florida for this convention. And if I have anything to say about it, they will be closing it out. A, I respect them that much, and B, they are so foul-mouthed, we need to get the children out of the room. So, anyway.
Get them back to bed.
Yeah. And I will be guesting on Night Attack this upcoming week. So,
awesome.
Stay tuned for that. Maybe I'll tell more illicit stories about beating my friends with prosthetic portions of the male anatomy.
Of course.
Yeah.
Like you do.
Yeah. Look up Night Attack from this past year's Nerdtacular if you don't know what I'm referencing. So yeah, that's it. We're almost out of VIP tickets actually for the convention already. They're going relatively quickly. And there's only 150 seats. So if you want to come, get your ticket fast. Kyle, you have a meetup to announce for Heroes of the Dorm.
Yes, Heroes of the Dorm is next weekend already. That's insane. It's coming up so fast. So I finally decided on the meetup. I was super stoked about the Magic Draft, but sadly, my favorite store in Seattle ends up running their Magic Draft for the new set on Saturday. So Friday night will be our meetup. Saturday, Sunday will, of course, be Heroes of the Dorm. So Friday night, I will be at the Gamma Ray Lounge of Seattle at 6 p.m. Pacific. This Gamma Ray Lounge, pretty darn sweet, has its own bar inside where you can order mead, actually, among other beers and what's nuts. They have board games we'll be able to pick up. I think we're just going to go in there, camp out, grab some Cards Against Humanity and some drinks, and hang out while they set up for a rock band concert. Apparently, they have the full stage, like you would see at PAX, where it's all set up. You can sign up. There's also pro rock band players who come in and are going to perform. If it gets too loud, if it gets too crazy, we'll just move to one of the sweet Seattle bars nearby.
I have a feeling it'll probably get really loud.
I think it'll be awesome.
Just a hunch. I am so disappointed I can't come to this. One of my favorite things in this entire world is Rock Band. You know what another one of my favorite things in this entire world is, Kyle? Heroes of the Storm. And you know what another one of my favorite things in this entire world is, Kyle? You.
Aw.
And I am so disappointed that I don't get to come to Seattle, play Rock Band, go to Heroes of the Dorm, and hang out with you. So, alas.
I'm really excited about this. I wanted to make sure that our non-Magic playing brethren could join us as well. So after the pros get up and perform, there will be a karaoke allowed session. So hey, maybe we'll put together a I Into the Nexus team and do a little bit of song. I won't even be able to stop Kristen, so it's happening anyway.
Nice. Very nice. At some point, the next time you come to Florida, you should really bring Kristen with you so that she can participate in the Rock Band party.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I feel like I missed out on our on bachelor party night with Kristen not being there to belt out whatever ridiculous Queen song caught her fancy.
Mostly Queen, though I have to admit she does a mad Evanescence.
She strikes me as someone who would. That does not surprise me in the least.
Plus, I have trouble waking up in the morning, so it helps.
Well, wake me up.
Wake me up inside.
Break Me Down or something. I don't even remember the song.
Can't wake up, but it's cool.
Oh, that's what it is. Yeah, that was one of those songs that I was working in the kitchen when it was really popular, and it was just pop rock radio all day. And if I ever hear that song again, I'll murder somebody. So with that in mind, let's get right into this week's Heroes of the Storm news.
We're on, boys! Ha-ha! Let's liven up this place!
Can Stitches play now?
Yeah, I love it when... Oh, cigar fell in the... Oh, wait!
And this is how we remember Tychus's cigar. Dude, it is all live. I don't, you wrote it in the show notes so well. It's all live, all of it, everything. Every single thing that we talked about in the PTR patch notes last week made it into the live game. And it's great. Dehaka is here. Bands are here. QuickCast customization, which is definitely probably the thing I like the most and didn't think I was going to be the most excited about. But now that it is here, again, can't believe I ever survived without it. And it's a wonderful addition. Thank you, Team One, for adding this.
They also went back through and changed instant cast abilities to be noted on that as well. So regardless of your setup, many of your buttons will now be better. If you use Quick Cast on Lily, on Sylvanas, when you're just sitting there going Q, 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 and driving everyone nuts, no longer is the day. You can just hold down that button even if you're on Quick Cast.
Yeah. So we also got our death recaps that I talked about. And dude, just a plethora of balance updates.
Yeah.
So
we're all still just kind of reeling from it, figuring out what's going on, what's changed in the game. And it's just bizarre that we're going to go into a weekend of esports, 2 weekends of esports here in the old version of the game. Instead of just some sort of, no Dehaka allowed town. Quite a bit has changed.
It really has. And I'm kind of feeling the ghost of Jeff Kanata right now take control of me, because last week he's like, I get it, but it's kind of disappointing. I want to see the new stuff in the live game, and I'm at that point now. Now that we have it, and I've had a chance to play with it, it's like I really want to see people who know what they're doing, messing around with this stuff, playing with this, and I don't want to overblow it, but I think it took a little bit of the wind out of my sails for Heroes of the Dorm.
It definitely did. Heroes of the Dorm is a little different for me because we're seeing that level of play being showcased.
Yeah.
I hope going into this official tournament next weekend, where everyone's live, that they're really going to pump up the energy and make these guys stars. They did an awesome job in Heroes of the Dorm connecting the faces, being like, here's this player, here's what they look like, here's their real name, getting to know them outside of just what school they're part of. But then the casters would kind of go on to be critical of their play. And I just want to disappear into a world of illusion where this is as good as it gets, right? That's what I want to be sold on.
Yeah, I agree.
And it'll be sad to hear possibly our casters say things like, ooh, a Sylvanas pick. Now, if only she had mind control, and you're just like, oh, and you just die a little inside. So I hope they can keep up the Disney-like facade that I require to enjoy that tournament to its fullest.
You know what, Kyle, just put it on mute, call me on Skype, and we'll just cast it.
All right, that sounds good. Wait, I'll be inside the auditorium.
Oh,
so.
That'll be terrible.
Yeah.
Or wonderful. One of the two. I'll tell you what, we'll definitely have a louder audience microphone.
That's true. I do tend to skip out on that.
Yeah, and this isn't me like complaining. I am only slightly disappointed that Heroes of the Dorm won't be using the patch, only because this patch is, I think, so great. I'm very excited about a lot of the changes that it brought. So, anyways, Dehaka. One of the things we always like to look at when a new hero comes out is head on over to Hotslogs, see how a new hero is doing at their launch. And Dehaka released to a 46.5% win rate, according to hotslogs.com. That's not too bad. It's not awful. It's this ebb and flow, man. Like, we get these heroes, like, you know, we had Li Ming, we had Zul. They come out super strong. Rein them in. God, oh, holy crap, they're strong. But then before that, we had like this marching procession of kind of really lukewarm, oh my gosh, is this really their win rates with heroes like Lunara and Cho'Gall. So it's this ebb and flow. So now Dehaka coming in just under 50%. That doesn't seem so bad to me.
There's a lot of room there, though, and that puts him right above Arthas, Abathur, and Tassadar near the bottom. Interestingly enough, Kael'thas and Tychus fell to the very bottom this week, as I guess people are overwhelmed by their changes. Can we say that Dehaka is underpowered? Slightly, maybe. It's hard to tell.
He feels conservative.
Yes. And, you know, my argument of getting yourself a level lead with his kit does help out, but what hero doesn't benefit from a level lead?
Yeah, and I don't disagree with Schmorier in the chat room who says Dehaka feels bad solo queue, but it's not so bad with coordination, and I agree.
And I've done my part. I had a Dehaka on my team in Hero League this week, and I took us to a victory. I picked a Nubarak actually as the side tank.
Nice. Just to
gush on bans a little more, that I got to pick a Nubarak in Hero League today.
I haven't had to yet, but it's come very close, and I have to say I am ecstatic that I may find myself in a scenario where nobody questions me taking Brightwing when I have to support.
Oh, goodness, no. Nobody will. Brightwing is just being highlighted as the savior of this patch right now because people are putting all their bans onto Li Ming and Illidan sneaking by.
I disagree. Definitely not my experience.
Sure, different leagues too, and then just different flavors for different times. But Illidan is making into my game, but Li Ming is not.
I haven't played a single Hero League game where Illidan has not been banned. I don't know, Kyle, why he's so terrifying. I haven't gotten to play against him.
He's fresh. It's a lot of damage, and all the things that we used to have to learn to deal with Illidan have decayed away because no one faces him anymore. So
well said.
It'll just take time until people, readjust themselves. Remember that when you get flipped over, you do get sort of body block lagged in there, and you need to wiggle back and then forward, and all these sort of little tricks. Like if Kerrigan took off, today, she would have a glorious reign of 24 hours until we all remembered to not run away from her in a straight line. Problem solved.
Yep. So that's been kind of been my experience. The thing I found so surprising, because I am seeing a lot of Dehaka picked at my level, and when my first game I played against him, first of all, I was Raynor, which I feel like is really good against Dehaka.
Sure.
Certainly seems like it. You outrange his drag by quite a bit. And when he does his burrow to avoid everything that's going on, I just had this natural instinct like, oh, okay, I'm just going to walk past you and penetrating around you into my team.
Yep.
And it was gross, and it worked really well.
Yeah, despite having what we could declare as, one of the more powerful CCs in the whole game on that drag, he can auto-attack, he can cast some of his spells during it. I mean, there's a lot to like about drag. He does need something with him that brings more CC for him to even get the drag off in the first place.
Yeah, it is. It's very hard to land. I've seen a lot of missed Dehaka tongues this week of sentence I never thought I would say.
Yeah.
So, I do have to give it up for, don't know the name, whoever it was that took Dehaka in my first Hero League game last night. I was playing with our buddy Gorath from the Core Show, another Heroes of the Storm podcast. And I gotta say, man, I have to admit it. Bo and I, we were sitting there talking mad smack about this guy that was hovering over Dehaka from the very beginning on our team. We're like, dude, don't take the new hero. What are you doing? He landed every single drag he went for, and he was slaying. It was beautiful.
That's awesome. I assume he took Isolation. Isolation is clearly taking the top pick. Adaptation, your regenerating solo tank ability, is simply undertuned.
Feels that way, right?
I think we can safely declare that as undertuned. I'm coming from Dota, so, everyone take a step back here. I'm thinking of Abaddon. At least that's how I pronounce it. Abaddon, maybe. When he triggers his ultimate, any damage coming in immediately turns into health. So, in my world, that ult is just insanely underpowered. I would like to see it a baseline 100%.
Ooh, okay.
Well, and because then at level 20, you go for 125%. I mean, yes, that will help you regenerate more health if you were below full health anyway. But, I mean, come on, 60% regeneration. That you might as well have a 60% dampening shield, and it'll accomplish the same exact thing.
Yeah, it's funny, too, and this probably shows you how much Dread I play compared to you, although...
I guess it would be a 40% dampening shield. Don't email me.
Abaddon was my favorite character, though, and yeah, I never drew a connection between Abaddon's ult and that regeneration on Dehaka, and yeah, now that you mention it, oh my gosh, like that's...
You can even go a step further and say that Dehaka's kit doesn't embrace adaptation because there's no way for him to cause damage to himself. Which that Dota character had. You could do certain attacks, certain abilities that would drain your own health, trade it for healing for your team or damage to the enemy team. And if you use that while your ultimate was going, well, hey ho, you did the right thing.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. So are you enjoying Dehaka? Have you been playing him? I know on your solo Q&A this week you did nothing but play Heroes League with bands, correct?
Yep.
So have you really had a whole lot of time to kind of sit down and get a feel for Dehaka?
I love Dehaka. The flavor, the character, he's awesome. This is honestly the coolest looking splash screen we've had. Maybe not the best secret. I was clicking those creep tumors trying to get something to happen. And that's all I could get was a bunch of goo flying out. But I think he's awesome, and I want to take him in those situations where I don't have Falstad Brightwing to make up for that XP lack. I'm curious to know what that is. And I have a hard time off-tanking. And Dehaka's right now, in his current setup, clearly an off-tank.
Yeah. Well, let's move into the nitty-gritty of the patch, and let's start with, as we usually do when giant balance updates like this come about, let's talk about the abilities and the heroes that were buffed. Let's start, and again, we're just doing highlights. We're talking about some of the bigger changes, more interesting changes. If you want to see the full patch notes, head on over to the official Heroes site, because it'd be boring if we just reread the entire thing word for word.
It doesn't digest well in an auditory setting.
No, it doesn't. But let's talk about Block, because Block had its damage reduction increased from 50 to 75%. Yes. Thank you. I'm glad about this.
So what's your opinion of Block?
It's boring, so if it's going to be boring, it better be effective.
Sure.
If you're going to take it on a character that you want to feel tanky, it better make you feel tanky. And the 50%, I don't think it did. I don't think it was enough, especially on some of the tanks that kind of required it because their kits are, again, conservative. The word I'll just keep using.
Sure, it works well. I like block on characters that have activated abilities to trigger it, such as Johanna. You know, if you're ever in a situation where you're not taking Knight takes pawn, basically in a situation you're not solo laning for the most part, Reinforce is a cute idea, and it's now at 75%, stores 2 charges, and that's controllable. That's great. I know I'll be walking into hammer range here. My problem with block comes into those characters where it's just the generic talent that's going to trigger, and I can't control some Lily running up and hitting me with a tiny auto attack, and then I walk into hammer range.
Right, absolutely. You hit the nail on the head. Although, I would say, yeah, I so much prefer Johanna's, but that would be a lie, because I never take it.
No, nobody does.
Yeah, Knight takes
well,
pawn.
some people do. Okay, let's...
Some people do. Save the emails. But I never take it. Anyway, on the dev comments, the dev said that they wanted to improve counter pick talents like block that are meant to be strong against certain hero types. And they also wanted to note that other effects similar to block, like reinforce, have been reevaluated on a case-by-case basis for all heroes in the game, with some gaining increased block damage reduction while some of the other similar talents stayed at a 50% damage reduction.
Cool.
Yeah. Tell me about Butcher, sir, because it's a hero that's really never found a home with me, and I know you enjoy Butcher quite a bit. What's going on with him? What's going on with Lamb of Slaughter?
So they added a silence
Lamb to the slaughter.
To the lamb to the slaughter. So it's now Silence of the Lambs, right? Nice little reference there. So if someone's locked down, particularly those spellcasters, they're going to be in a world of hurt. So it now has an applicable place outside of just a random route that may cause you a win. You can actually take Butcher in those exact situations you would want to. I think of a Kael'thas for one of them. Not only the silence, but he has a small auto attack range. You'll be able to grab him with this. Your charge allows you to close the distance without getting caught up in a gravity lapse. So they're trying to give someone like Butcher a real place in the game. I don't know if this change is enough for that, but it's interesting that they've been having so much trouble figuring out what to do with Butcher. At least highlighted in the AMA dev comments this week, but also their developer comments here.
Yeah, they straight up admitted we've been making a lot of changes, and they did say that they, after a lot of long discussions and proper use cases and the proper use cases and our intended design, we decided to make this ability a little bit meaner toward the intended target while still allowing some counterplay through talents and abilities that grant unstoppable. So they don't sound super sure of themselves in these comments.
No, they do not.
They sound about as sure of themselves as you sound sure of this change.
And it's understandable why. They created a hero that isolates charges in a game where the maps are traditionally really small and team fights are constantly gathering together. The power of these massive long-range charges in other MOBAs is isolation because the laning phase lasts 40 minutes.
Now, is it without attempting to put words in your mouth, is it safe to say that you're a huge fan of the hunt on Illidan?
I think it's very cute.
Okay. Do you like it more than Lamb to the Slaughter?
Oh, between those two? That's an interesting...
Because they're both these kind of dash ultimates.
Well, Lamb for the Slaughter is the lockdown, right? But you're talking about maybe the change between the hunt and then Butcher's usual charge, Ruthless Onslaught.
Oh, that's what I'm thinking of. My
cool,
apologies. Yeah. Well, because you were just talking about how you have... What's the issue with this hero dashing, dashing being kind of his thing on in a game where maps are small?
True, and that's why we see someone like Butcher perform so well in the lower leagues, and I expect, once we have the results over the next couple weeks, that Illidan's Hunt is going to perform very well at lower leagues as well. It'll also have its place. Like, I'm not saying it's insane. I don't think Butcher doesn't have a place in this game, but you need to identify it, and it's very risky for Butcher to invest that heavily, based on his kit, in the draft screen. Whereas with Illidan, I can do a number of different things. I can be this ability damage guy right now by changing up 2 talents. I can be the auto attacker damager. And if I continue to see people out of position and vulnerabilities presented by the enemy team, the hunt is an excellent tool.
Gotcha. All right, cool. Thank you for answering that question.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Zagara, because I'm here. Specifically, Nidus Network got the change that we detailed last week, where Zagara heals and regains mana just as fast as if she was standing on the altar back at the base while she's inside the Nidus Network. The dev said the Nidus Network has been in a tough position for a long time, and that they realize it is pretty difficult to compete with Devouring Maw, which is an incredible teamfight heroic. The big, most interesting thing here is, Kyle, they said Zagara may also have bigger changes coming soon. TM.
Yes. Which was revealed in the AMA to possibly be a third ultimate for her.
I hope that's what it is, because I see bigger changes. I'm like, rework, and that just terrifies me.
I don't know what you do. She seems to accomplish her job pretty well, and they had to keep pulling back from that job by reducing, hunter-killer health and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing. That's why I'm kind of scared, because I'm thinking back to when Brightwing was released, and she was just fantastic, and it worked great. And then the rework came, and it's like, she sucks now, guys. What'd you do? So that's why when I get a little protective of some of my personal favorites when I hear about reworks coming. Although I'm going to flip-flop on that statement a little bit later in this very show. And Kyle, I'm sure you can guess regarding which answer to which question in the AMA.
I'm sure I could.
Yep. So anyways, third ultimate. That would be interesting. Again, like... Yeah. What do you do? Like, I don't envy them, right? I don't envy them at all. I feel like they've done a pretty good job with Sylvanas. Here is a hero that no one ever took anything other than Black Arrow, right?
Wailing Arrow.
And they actually, they managed to come up with a replacement heroic ability that is pretty damn strong. But in the case of Zagara, why a third? Like, if I don't know, maybe that's why this change went live first. They want to see if Nidus gets picked at all. But I'm thinking, why not just remove Nidus entirely? Like, what? I'm not sure why Zagara should have 3 ultimates, and I can't even think of a third that would compete with Maw.
And you can't. It's a playmaker. It wins games. What do you do to ETC to make Stage Dive more popular? Well, it has its place in exact situations, which is what Nidus Network is capable of doing here. I mean, on our win rates across all leagues, we're not seeing any Nidus Networks in Hero League, at least in these higher win rate games. But it is pretty neat, and the responsiveness they added to the ability does make it now usable, which is very important.
Yeah. The thing I find strange, too, is Reconstitution Rapid Incubation wasn't really messed with at all. They did nothing to it. And that is still a fantastic way to just stay on the map at all times. If you're worried about health, you're worried about mana, as Zagara, that is a fabulous talent. So with that still in the game, if you're trying to sell me on Nidus Network by giving me healing, by giving me mana back, I just think to myself, well, why don't I just take Maw and deal with not as much creep spread?
Well, and I want Zagara on my team for Maw. That's what we all expect when we see her in the draft screen. If you want to play that different style, if you want to be all over the map, attacking everyone, joining every single team fight, taking battle momentum, something cool like that, because you can now regenerate enough mana in the Maw to keep that active, take Falstad. If you want to use your Nidus Network as this home base that you push one single lane all game and just wreck it, and you visit that thing, you get mana up, and you go right back to pushing lane, play Murky. That's the problem she's facing.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad Nidus is getting some love and needs it. I'm still not sure it's enough for the reasons I've stated. And like you said, everyone else expecting a Maw is definitely, that is an issue. But I mean, that's something people could get over and will have to if whatever comes down the line for Zagara is enticing enough to be picked, on the talent tree. Yeah, and again, we're mostly just talking for Hero League here. Obviously, there's all types of scenarios. You get into quick match, you just want to have fun. Take Nidus Network. We're not coming down on you for your fun things. Kyle, especially. This is the man that runs Beast Hunter and Hearthstone because themes. So let's talk about Lost Vikings real quick.
Cool.
Olaf the talent was changed up. The time between block stacks has been reduced from 8 to 5 seconds. So much for Lost Vikings. What does this mean to you?
It's cool, nice, sweet. Nice little buff to Olaf. They don't need it. You know, Lost Vikings win rate has always been top and is now once again regained its top now that Zool has been knocked back down.
Oh, nice. I didn't even notice. I haven't really been keeping a close eye on Zool.
Yeah, he fell a lot. He fell down 8% over the last 2 weeks, and this week has settled down at 53% win rate. So I think he's in a very solid place, and now we have bans if we want to get rid of him on those particular maps where he can be really powerful. I think of Spider Queen, of course, because it's a push map, but also things like, Dragonshire, where you can stand on the point and still be in range to create skeletons in the line below you or above you if you're in the bottom lane. So Lost Vikings, super powerful. I'm glad this is a nice little change. It's not going to change up the specs, though. Viking bribery, and if you really want to explosive attacks on Baylog, there's better options.
Yep. Let's talk about Gargantuan for Nazebo, because the basic attack damage on Gargantuan was increased substantially from 228 to 274. The scaling has stayed the same. One thing to note is that that Gargantuan will no longer deal bonus damage to minions and structures. It doesn't really need to, because now it just kind of straight up murders anything it hits.
The damage is nice, and the fact that it did that bonus damage to minions and structures was lucky at best, because you still can't really aim this guy.
Right, but now it's doing significantly more damage to heroes if it's attacking them.
Which is funny to see them augment this ability when I feel like Ravaging Spirit or Ravenous Spirit is less seen these days. But I don't want to I don't want to go back there. I don't want to go back to the days of Ravenous Spirit in every game.
I still see it quite a bit at my league level, but it's fine. I don't feel that I ever got too comfortable with not seeing it. So like it happens and I'm like, okay, cool, save my stun, hit him with the stun, he's out of it. All right, let's do this. But, we'll see. We'll see how we both do. Pretty sure I would do a better job with a Ravenous Spirit coming out after me than you, Kyle.
That's true. I wouldn't be prepared for it. Like, what is this thing?
You know what else you're not prepared for? Murky's block being renamed a fish tank.
Oh, Blizzard.
I love this little piece of flavor so much, I can't even... I can't even deal. So Fish Tank provides 2 block charges. Each charge reduces damage taken from the next incoming basic attack by 50%. Now, I haven't tried this yet. Does this mean it is activatable just like Johanna's?
Every 5 seconds. So it's just block, but it's been renamed. It has a slightly shorter cooldown than our other abilities, just like Olaf above.
So it's not an extra button.
No, Fish Tank makes it sound like you maybe get to activate it when you do your bubble or something along those lines. But this is merely just blocked.
So it's just a passive charge just hanging out on you until you take a hit from a basic attack.
Exactly. It is 50% still, though. So he did not get the update of 75%.
He has an invulnerability move, and he's supposed to die. I am okay with that.
I'm okay with that, too.
I love me some Murky, man. I'm fine with this change. Also, damn it, that name. It's so great. Now I want a Murky, tank skin. I want him, with a sword and board.
Ooh, yes.
Give him, one of the most ridiculous warrior tier sets from World of Warcraft.
Nah, release it with the frog, man. Do the paladin card.
Oh, give him the mouth. With the frog. Are you thinking the Murloc Knight?
Yeah.
Oh, he is riding a frog. You're right. Sorry, I was thinking of, a frog knight. Anyways, doesn't matter. March of the Murlocs was changed as well. The damage has been increased from a baseline of 19 to 25. Again, scaling has stayed the same. I'm still going to take Octograb.
Sure, this doesn't seem like much. The developers went on to say that this is a 30% increase, which sounds a bit more seductive than a 6-point damage increase.
Yeah. I like Twitchikins in the chat room. It says, make him Johanna's apprentice as the name of his knight skin.
That'd be awesome.
That'd be fantastic. Let's talk about Asmodan. Specifically, I'm sure you want to talk about Asmodan. Global Annihilation, Taste for Blood talent. The duration in which enemy deaths will permanently add to Global Annihilation damage increase from 1 to 1.5 seconds.
This is a bizarre talent.
Yeah, as someone who doesn't play a whole lot of Asmodan, and when I do not have the patience to go a globe build, how excited should I be for this change?
You shouldn't be very excited. This is a decent quality of life change. It'll give you that extra half second in order to trigger, particularly once you go the burning talent. Let me grab the name of that here. But the damage over time would last longer than your Global of Annihilation would exact itself. If Raynor came by and shot your guys with the dot on it, a little too late, you wouldn't get the points to it. I think they just need to make this baseline. I will continue to be sad that Asmodan and Zagara kind of split, and Asmodan became this really long-range, ball chucker. And then we have our Zagara, who, is the pusher with all the minions and stuff. I really enjoyed, soloing bosses and whatnot with the original Asmodan. So let's just embrace the new one, give him Taste for Blood on his Q passively, and get that talent out of the way.
Sounds like a plan. Quick note about Abathur's Ultimate Evolution. It now inherits Karazim's trait if you copy Karazim.
Sweet.
Should have always been that way, if you ask me.
Not noted here, but definitely a pretty big update to Abathur's evolution as well. Kael'thas no longer has a 6-second cooldown on his verdant spheres when you spawn, which means when you copy Kael'thas, you are no longer stuck with 6 seconds of basically not taking advantage of the character.
That is a fairly large buff to copying Kael'thas.
Yes, it is. And, of course, the passive chain bombs that come with it.
Yes, absolutely. Let's talk about Lunara, who I watched Gorath own so many poor people with last night. Noxious Bloom, Q ability, the Choking Pollen talent for that has had its damage bonus doubled. It used to be 50%. It is now 100%.
Excellent.
So much damage. Crippling Spores, Let Them Wither talent. The slow amount applied by Crippling Spores no longer decays over its 3-second duration, but the slow amount has been reduced from 60 to 50%. I am totally okay with that. I much prefer this. That decaying slow is just... bleh. I don't like it. It's mushy.
Well, on this particular talent, too, it was a trick. It wasn't included in the verbiage of the talent. This talent, anyway, at level 16, removed the decay. So people were getting in one of those, sort of online argument matches like we do when we have misinformation. Do I take this talent because it gets rid of the decay that's already part of the passive ability? Or do I take, where does it come in? It's like when I'm playing Diablo 3 and I have to go, oh, hey, hang on, I got to go over to the website and log in and go to the talent calculator so I can see all that text on some spell.
Yeah.
But that's a single-player game. This is multiplayer.
Yeah. Let's talk about Kerrigan's Ultralisk. Something I didn't think I'd be talking about for a while. The attack damage was increased from 91 to 100. Okay, minor increase on the attack damage. However, the Torask talent, which, might come from D&D, I like to think it comes from Mr. Kyle Ferguson's battle tag. Anyway,
accept it.
The egg timed life has been decreased from 8 to 4 seconds, and the egg health has been decreased from 1,095 to 594.
So an interesting kind of half buff, sort of play correctly and you'll do better anyway kind of thing.
Right. So it'll be an egg for significantly less, but you can also kill the egg faster.
Yep. This is, of course, the level 20 talent that augments the Torask so that he turns into a little egg, Phoenix style, when he goes down, and then pops right back up now after 4 seconds. With 1,000 health, it was almost always killed. Now with half that health, might still always get killed. Either way, Kerrigan's kit really embraces her Psionic Storm in the end. Oh, let's see, what's the official name of it? Maelstrom, yep. So, cool, I guess. Nice.
Yes.
We'll see.
Still not enough, I don't think.
Nope.
Greymane, his basic attacks in human form have received responsiveness improvements, and the melee the melee basic attack animation speed was increased by 50% to match the speed of his ranged basic attack animation. Hooray for consistency!
Very much so. It's sad when they have these really cool abilities, such as, in StarCraft, we have the ghosts do a little lightsaber they pull out and whack the guys. I love those sort of things. Hydralisk, do little melee attacks when you're melee range. Flavor, awesome, bring it on. Stinks when it's broken, so now it's fixed.
Yeah. Also marked for the kill, the bullet range has been increased by 25%, and the speed has been increased by 45%. So it's almost like a real bullet, Kyle.
It's almost like a talent you might never pick still, sadly.
I know.
The Go for the Throat is just too fantastic and does exactly what you want it to do. You turn into a worgen.
And you feel like such a baller when you get to kill more than one person with it.
You do, and we have a very good idea of what this flow is. You stand back, you do your auto attacks till about, they're at 3/4 health. Then you throw out your sweet cocktail, taking them down to half. You do your dark flight, jump at them, get an auto attack in, swipe them, and then you go for the throat, you get the kill, and you have the reset. That's how you do it. It's fantastic. Your worgen form, you can then disengage. The big problem with Marked for the Kill is you turn into a human, and being human is really dangerous because you don't have disengage.
Yeah. Cho'Gall players, listen up. This is huge. Gall can now use Shove and Eye of Kilrog while riding the Dragon Knight or Garden Terror.
No, it's okay.
It's fine. I find this really silly, but I'm glad it's a thing. Let's talk about some of the nerfs that happened. So Jaina lost Bolt of the Storm, as well as Kael'thas, and we'll address that in just a sec. In the developers' comments, it was interesting. They said that they have removed Bolt of the Storm from Jaina because it overcame a core weakness of hers, and that they thought, is essential for her to maintain her lack of mobility. They also went on to say that we're in the process of evaluating whether or not Bolt should be available to a number of heroes, which is why it was also removed from Kael'thas in this patch. And I am sitting here, sir, as Queen Zerg Zagara, sweating a little bit.
And I think you should be.
Oh, I should. I'm on creep. Why the hell do I have that talent? I'm sitting here as a fan of Zagara wondering why in God's name I have that talent.
And with Nidus Worm in the game now and its responsiveness increased, that's your Bolt, right?
Yeah.
Should be anyway. You still got to climb inside, which can be rather dangerous.
Well, you also have to take Nidus Worm, which you shouldn't.
And here, this helps define the personalities. It takes, Jaina's camp further away from Li Ming's. Li Ming as the teleporting burst damage, and Jaina as the slowing burst damage. Now, you can't think of it two ways, right? Is she really slowing everyone, or is she constantly moving faster all the time because everyone else is slowed? Well, you have to do damage in the first place. That's why the Sylvanas talent that gives you movement speed based on hitting with Withering Fire, or the slow when you hit them with Withering Fire, the movement speed is always preferable because it always affects you, and you're the constant. If you kill the dude you slowed with your Withering Fire, you're back to square one, and you have to once again build up a slow on your next target. So it'll be interesting. I like the philosophy. I think Jaina is going to see more than enough play because of bans, because of Li Ming always seeming to receive that ban right now in many leagues. And we'll see how this works out. I like the new level 20 talent, as we discussed last week, but it can never replace what she lost.
100% personal anecdote. Don't know what it means, but I had a Jaina in every single game last night, and they were the players with the most deaths.
Makes sense. Very dangerous to play.
Yes, very much so.
And there's such an obvious tell, right? When I see a Blizzard Mist, and I'm the enemy tank, or really anybody, my alarms start going off. Time limit, get them!
Yeah. And also Zul's Cursed Strikes ability. The attack speed slow on it now only affects heroes and summons. So he still kills lanes so fast. I'm not too concerned about this.
Yeah.
It's like, oh no, this totally makes or breaks the hero. No, he's fine. He'll be totally fine. Let's talk about Illidan. We got some insight into the big changes that were made on Illidan. We're moving into reworks here, by the way. These are no longer necessarily heroes that were nerfed, but heroes that had pretty substantial reworks, and Illidan's definitely topping the list. In the developer comments, they said that the goal of the talent system in the game in general, not just on Illidan, is to provide meaningful and tactical decisions, and that this just hasn't been the case with Illidan. So that's the main reason they changed that, because he had basically a required build. This is why you saw certain abilities just rolled into his base kit. They also said they wanted to embrace the skill cap that is required to play Illidan while not making him too difficult to pick up and learn. So some of his talents are now harder to pull off, but they offer much higher bonuses if you're able to use them effectively. I like that line of thinking.
Right. The hard part is it enacted well? And that's yet to be seen. We don't know if this is a buff. Seems like a buff for people who are already aware of what Illidan can do. The skill cap may be the wrong word here, because to play Illidan, you don't need a lot of skill. To not die as Illidan, though, that's something very different. I mean, think about, Bad Li Ming. She just misses everything. Okay, cool. We can say, like, skill cap there, right? But right. Illidan can still accomplish what he does and just do it extremely poorly. So is the kit transparent enough for new players to figure out what they should be doing and what talents they need to stack together? That's the hard part, and that's why I think we won't see Illidan climb as fast as he will in maybe something like Masters League or in Pro Scene.
Gotcha. Again, in my games, I don't know what to tell you, man, because I haven't seen him once. I wouldn't have been able to play against him or play as him if I wanted to. So, first ban every game last night.
And it's understandable. It's a lot of damage. And the flipping, most people, can't relax enough to wait for that flip to happen and then use penetrating round or the stun or whatever it may be. They might be attacking him while he's got his, evasion up, which eventually turns into a 75% ability evasion right now with the talent everyone's taking. And people don't understand Blades of Azzinoth, and maybe it's not clear enough visually that that is an active ability. Once you land 5 sweeping strikes against enemy heroes, you can press a button and increase your basic attack damage for 8 seconds by 75%.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's insane.
Or Marked for the Death. The other one you're making a choice between at level 16. If you subsequently dive the same target, it starts critting against them. As long as you hit the same guy over and over again. And this works against monsters, mercenaries, everything on the map. So there's some really cool choices to make, and you can make some counterplay, whereas previously, if you didn't do the real build, you just messed up.
Yeah. I got to tell you, man, I've never had a whole lot of interest in Illidan, and he's very quickly moving to the top of the list of heroes I want to get good with. I want to learn. So.
And what interests me so much about Illidan is who he's going to bring up with him, because he requires support. Thrall, put him in a lane by himself, everything will go good. He can fit basically into any team. But, Illidan needs those possibly Abathurs, Tassadars, Uthers.
Yeah, that's a really good point. But let's talk about Kael'thas. It sounds like from your talk and mine, honestly, throughout the whole show, that it sounds like we're both pretty happy with the changes that were made to our Phoenix Prince.
Very much so for me. I think they really helped define his personality, and they made the baseline talents we had to take into his kit. Awesome.
Yeah. The devs say that Chain Bomb evolved into a core part of the fantasy of playing Kael'thas, but it was, locked behind a level 13 talent. So they decided to embrace that aspect of Kael'thas while introducing more counterplay to how he explodes Living Bomb so that it's less frustrating to play against.
This, of course, being that you can no longer Living Bomb the same target twice in a row to set it off.
Exactly. You can't, which I'm kind of excited about. I am excited about being in this world where I can use my Verdant Spheres on different abilities.
Exactly. You can be fluid. You can be creative. Instead of just, did you do the combo? Nope, you messed it up.
What'd you almost say there, Kyle?
Just a little something.
Just a little something.
Kind of like that.
But yeah.
Maybe it's in my brain. It's been on outside my door forever. I'm not going to pick it up and throw it away, but it's just been sitting there.
Yeah.
It is wrapped, by the way.
They also said that they added many talents to promote Flame Strike as Kael'thas' primary source of damage. I haven't seen a ton of Kael'thas play this week. I've seen a few, not enough to see if this is really working. What about you, Kyle?
For Kael'thas,
yeah.
I've been seeing a lot of Flame Strike build. It's very popular, particularly in my after-show games for solo Q&A. I think it's dodgeable. So I've been playing with a auto attack build on Kael'thas because that's what seduces me. I find that fun.
That sounds insane. It sounds like Crazy Town. Auto attack build on Kael'thas.
It's really fun though. I mean, you get to go the double Verdant Spheres, twin spheres at 16. You get to go Sunfire Enchantment, which every time you use Verdant Spheres, you get an auto attack or a spell effect. So it's great against Illidan while he's got his shield up, at least until later levels. And then, where is it here? Sun King's Fury. Your basic attacks do bonus damage against those affected by Living Bomb. There's cool stuff in there. It's a little dreamy, right? But
you could start yet another hero show just called Get Weird.
Sure, I could.
Speaking of getting weird, let's talk about Tychus, who I saw picked a ton in my games last night, and it never worked out. But I have beliefs as to why. Mostly, it's don't pick him early on if you don't know if you don't know if you're going against a lot of tanks or not. It doesn't seem like Tychus is a good blind pick.
No, and Tychus is not performing well right now. He has fallen quite a bit, even from his low spot to begin with. He is a giant killer. Now, do other heroes do it better?
Are you asking me that question?
No, I'm just saying probably.
Probably. Gotcha.
I can't think of a situation where I'm going up against Cho'Gall and I would go Tychus or Raynor. Well, I'll just Raynor.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. The dev said that they decided to make his trait an active ability since it allowed them to be more aggressive with tuning it as compared to being a passive trait, which is interesting. I never really thought about active versus passive traits and that in that specific regard, but it does make sense, right? It's like, well, if it's just always going on, we have to be really careful with how we tweak this thing. But now that's, it's something on a cooldown that you have to activate, they can really tweak the numbers.
Exactly. Yeah, it's the old Void Prison problem of it was just too good, so we had to limit the range. We had to get really weird, and this is adjustable for him.
Yeah. I don't know, chat room. I'm not sure if it's Tychus Rip. It might be Tychus Still Rip.
Yeah. Sad but true.
Yeah. How are you feeling with Gazlo, man? I know you were super, super excited about these Gazlo changes. I will tell you, I haven't had a chance to play him yet, but I have played against him, and he's maddening.
He's cool, right?
Yeah, he's terrifying. If I see three turrets now, I'm just like, I guess I just don't get to walk here. Kind of like when my cat sits in front of the TV. I'm just like, I guess I don't have to see the whole show.
I think the biggest change for my style of play, which is a turret, completely dedicated style, is the 27% increase for the range of the turrets from the get-go. That's fantastic, and I no longer have to wait till level 16 to have that power upgrade, which felt, as a Gazlo player, along the lines of something like a Kael'thas waiting for 16, perhaps. But in the end, you got your talents actually usable all of a sudden.
Yeah, I'm so confused, man. I am not used to being in a world where I see a Gazlo laser go off and someone just gets deleted.
Yeah.
It's so cool. And like I said earlier, like it's also scary. Like I'm afraid of Gazlo. I'm not used to this feeling, Kyle. Unless you're playing.
Well, thank you. One of the cool things about Gazlo right now, and one of the difficulties of making a good spec for him, is he's very much limited by his mana, and his talents can burn the mana faster if you keep getting more charges of turrets. If you give yourself more charges of bombs and whatnot, you could show up to that fight with nothing to contribute. So when we're looking at just stacking talents, your mind immediately kind of goes, oh, well, I'll just go this. I'll go everything that has a picture of a turret on it because I want a turret build, and then I'm going to go Robo-Goblin so I can target my turrets. Not so much. When you're actually making a spec, you should think about what skill you want to improve and how you are going to make the other ones usable. Because guess what? If you're doing a turret build, you're going to have a lot of scrap on the field, meaning that you could have a very low cooldown Gravo Bomb. But if you go all turrets, do you want to target the turrets? It's very hard to figure out.
Yeah. And I don't feel bad for you at all for having to worry about your mana, sir. Welcome to the world. Welcome to the world of Vala, or Zagaras that don't take rapid incubation. Join us, Kyle. Become mortal.
I can't take scrap, or it's raining scrap at level 20 now, which gives me some mana regeneration. That's a long time to wait, naturally.
That is a lifetime in Heroes of the Storm.
So we'll see. We'll see down the road. I think we're going to end up eventually with a sort of half laser, half turret build.
I hope to see that. Finally, let's talk about Sylvanas. She finally lost her dumb, what was it even called? Recruit? Was it called Recruit?
Promote?
No. What was her old heroic called?
Oh, Possession.
Possession. I'm sorry. Why was it Recruit? That doesn't sound very Sylvanas-y. So Possession is gone. Kind of lives on now in a new talent. It allows you to turn non-catapult lane minions to your side. But she finally got a heroic to stand toe-to-toe against Wailing Arrow. And I'm just excited to be seeing her picked again. And the devs had this to say. They said, given the gravity of this, given its gravity, talking about mind control, this change quickly led us down the rabbit hole of trying to fix her talent pick rates. I'm sure in testing they probably left things alone, but with mind control, her talent build as it currently stood maybe made her too strong. So after the dust had settled, they said that they realized their changes were going to remove a bit of the damage offered by her popular build talent, so they decided to increase her basic attack and Withering Fire damage to help even things out.
Good. I like that Sylvanas is taken for a pusher for that building lockdown, for the lane control, and then can contribute 2 good ultimates in a fight, rather than being more kind of half in that assassin camp if you know how to play. It's the same quality of life improvement, in my opinion, that happened with Garden Terror. Granted, now we all have to sort of unlearn that, but before, the run around, put potted plants down, and then run for it just didn't really work with the fantasy of being a giant honking monster.
Oh no, I agree. We talked about that too last week. I'm very happy with that change.
So now Sylvanas will have to learn that they're no longer assassins, but they can perform their original job, I think, better. Though level 1 talents are just kind of lackluster, you sort of choose your favorite among the worst.
Yeah, but overall, it seems like she's been brought in line with a lot of the other specialists. Again, Garrett talks about Zagara. Zagara. If the other people on your team are doing their job and allowing you to go be a specialist, go push lanes, go get mercenaries, you can do that and you can do it wonderfully. But if they're not doing your job and you have to become the assassin for the team, you have to become the playmaker for the team, you can do that as well. And it seems like Sylvanas, now more than ever, is as close to being in that position as she has ever been. She's a specialist first and a damage dealer second, which is what I like.
Agreed.
So let's get into the developer Reddit AMA. Oh man, this is going long. I'm going to cut emails or something. So they had a developer Q&A on the Heroes subreddit yesterday, and there's so many little gems in here. Thanks to VPix of Reddit, who distilled this down to its kind of essence, and that's exactly what we're going to be dealing with right now. We also have a link to the entire Q&A in the show notes if you missed it, or you could just go to the subreddit right now and find it. First up, on Artanis, Zealot Charge will be a baseline in the future, but it's going to be altered. It will be shorter range. Congratulations, Kyle. Into the Nexus gets results.
Huzzah!
I'm going to just I'm just going to choose to give you all the credit for this.
Oh well, thank you. There's been many more main Artanises than I out there who have been talking about this for a long time. I still think Zealot Charge is not to the level of responsiveness that I would like the ability to have. It's still really odd to activate it and then charge to basically the nearest thing, or you might misclick, whatever you want. So I'd still like to see it as a actual click the target ability, but hey, I can't complain.
Baby steps, Kyle. Baby steps. Yep. Alrighty, you know how I said that I get really nervous when they say they're going to change a hero that I love? Well, forget that past Garrett. Future Garrett knows what he's talking about. Arthas is the closest hero to receiving changes. They did say not as extensive as Kael'thas, but Arthas changes are coming. They also said the Sindragosa change was fine, probably, to which I give you the sound of me snoring. But
it'll be a while.
Yeah. Bring it on. Bring it on, man. Anubarak also got mentioned as well as having changes coming down the road. I'm telling you, Kyle, you and me, double tanking, Arthas and Anubarak. Buddy cop movie.
Friends forever, yeah.
Yeah.
I think Anubarak's the good cop in that scenario.
Arthas, get in my office. I want your badge and your phosphor on my desk.
And your weapons.
Then Anubarak comes in. Come on, Chief. He was just doing his job. Anyways.
I got beetles to feed.
Yeah. As to Falstad, they said that it's still vague about when Mighty Gust will have a cooldown that makes sense. And Hinterland's last cooldown is fine. So,
cool.
Yeah. Kerrigan, probably some adjustments coming to her, but not in the near future. So the Kerrigan we have right now is the Kerrigan we will be playing with for a while.
They seemed overall confused as to what role they're going to give her. And I can imagine that Tychus's treatment has been applied to every assassin they're having trouble with.
Yeah. I'm laughing at the chat room right now. We're making fun of the last round of Arthas changes. You are my people. You are my people. Tyrael. They said his trade is fine.
Yep.
Deal with it.
Much to the sadness of Tyrael mains. But when you think about Tyrael, you do have to take a step back and think about everything his abilities do. And they all do, other than his shield, 2 things. Which is why his trait is kind of lame. But, I mean, think about it. You throw a sword, you can teleport to it. It slows when it hits. It slows when you teleport to it. You lay down a track that does damage and gives a bonus movement speed to you and anyone who walks across it. Like, either one of those things. 2 abilities, 4 different features. One of those could be its own ability. So Tyrael is a little stacked, and that's going to make his trait lame. I don't know if I agree with it. I think his trait has always been kind of a bummer.
First wave hero, man.
Definitely.
That's all I have to say. Supports. Changes to underused heroics are coming. Water Dragon, for example. Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. Because I already kind of like Water Dragon when I'm in a Kyle Ferguson mood.
I wonder what this change would be. Water Dragon has its place in Quick Match when you can decide which of the many supports you've got on your team is going to be the dedicated healer. I would like to see this change happen before the incoming skin, which shows a very cool Water Dragon, which is going to make people pick Water Dragon.
I just hope they make it so lethal, you'd be silly not to take it.
That'd be interesting.
Yeah. Lily needs some work just in general, not just for Water Dragon.
They did say in this AMA that Sylvanas used to have a level 10 ability that would reduce the enemy's health to 1. You would channel it for 3 seconds. If they stayed in the range, they would have 1 health to deal with.
My God.
So, yeah. You can see why they couldn't balance it and why it's not part of the game.
For the audio-only listeners, I was sitting there with my mouth agape for a second because I totally missed that. I did not see that in the Q&A. I was following the Q&A. Giant Killer and percent base damage. No change is coming. The viability of no tank teams is exciting. I think I agree with this.
Yeah, so they're saying that if someone drafts a Giant Killer heavy team, your strategy should just be to not get a tank, which is very interesting. Not exactly, like, they didn't lie this out as some sort of strategy they're building in or encouraging, but Giant Killer's fine. We'll probably see more of it, and that is a counterplay option.
Gorath and I were possessed by a miniature Kyle Ferguson in our very first game in Hero League last night when that gentleman took Dehaka because we were the last 2 picks. So I took a support. I grabbed Rhaegar, and we just assumed with Dehaka solo tanking that Gorath is going to have to pick another tank because we don't want Dehaka solo tanking. But then in the back of our minds, we thought, Kyle said just get more damage. So that's exactly what we did. We stomped that game. We stomped it so hard, and I like it. I like that is an option you can take. The other team went double tank, and we destroyed them.
I'm glad that advice from last show helped out so many people. Jeff Canada included tweeted at us this week, saying that he took it to heart and went on a mad winning streak, just getting enough damage and not being forced into support or tank.
Yeah, there's a point. There's a point, right, where you have to make that. You kind of have to make a decision. It's like, well, am I going to be too reactive? Am I going to worry too much about our defense against what they're throwing at us? Or do I just want to flip the aggro switch and make them worry about what we're going to do to them? And I feel like the way my brain works, I tend to be more reactive. I tend to want to be more on the defensive end, on the safe side. And I'm not sure that's the best way to play this game anymore.
No, and that may be the World of Warcraft speaking in us, right? Or the StarCraft, just play safe. Always play safe. Have a backup plan. If you could put yourself in an aggressive decision, don't, and just win through sheer numbers.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, no, I think in the middle ranks, be proactive. Bring the aggression. Make them answer you. So, quest talents. They will continue to add many quest talents. They also really like the Snipe Master mechanic and will add many similar talents. An indicator of completion will be available for the opposing team. Cool.
Important to know.
Yeah.
You don't even know the stacks that are on someone's seasoned marksman, which you can make assumptions just by looking at how well they're doing, their damage numbers, perhaps their lane clear capabilities. But if a quest is completed and they go up 50 damage on a flame strike or whatever have you, that's pretty important to know. So I'm glad we'll be getting both indicators, because I want one on my side too.
Absolutely. You can look at everyone's talents to figure out what they took, and this might as well be a talent. So I think it is on just the same importance of, like, that same level of information that needs to be known. On Abathur, Monstrosity will receive a small adjustment soon. Cool. Johanna, Knight takes pawn, maybe baseline or just straight up removed, but not anytime soon.
Interesting.
Yeah, I found that interesting. Like, I would love to really get in there and be like, well, why? If you know this is happening, why is it so far out? Because that seems like the kind of thing that would be a relatively simple change to make. But again, I'm armchair developing here. I don't actually know.
And we like to think these things happen quickly, which they do have the technology to make those swift changes if something is truly broken in the game. But the time they spend in testing has gone up since BlizzCon. At BlizzCon, they told us it was 7 weeks of testing per hero, and now we're up to 10. And in fact, the changes we saw with Gazlo, Sylvanas, Illidan, Kael'thas, Tychus, those were cooking for the last 3 months.
Yeah. I'm such a cynic. I'm sorry. My brain just went, boy, that Tychus change, that must be really disappointing spending that long on those Tychus changes.
Aw.
Sorry, I'm a jerk sometimes. Lieutenant Morales, she may receive an answer to her level 20 talent diversity issue. May. Okay, cool. Sometimes these Q&As, man, it's like, oh, cool. That's really interesting if I had actual information in your answer.
Well, and some of these devs disagreed with each other, not like getting in little fights Reddit style on Reddit, but some of them would say a change is incoming on someone like Leoric. We're working on him. We're looking at him. And then another one say, we're not even looking at him. He's not on the radar.
This sounds like you and I when people ask us about scheduling call-in episodes on Twitter. Because you're like, yeah, sometime. And I'm like, no. Do you know how hard it is to find a day where the two of us can show up, let alone anything else? We can't schedule around a single person that lives in Europe. Are you crazy? So, anyways, that tends to happen from time to time. On Nova, possible changes working toward viability in the pro scene. Anxious to see what those will be.
Cool.
Rexar changes may come, but not in the near future. On Bolt of the Storm, it will stay on Illidan and Sylvanas, but maybe not on Vala. Okay, but it's gonna sound. No, I don't. I disagree with that. Because Vala has an escape mechanic, but so does Sylvanas. You know, why does Sylvanas get to keep it and Vala doesn't?
Yeah, and Illidan's particularly weird to me because if you want to teleport a short range, go Metamorphosis. And waste your Metamorphosis escaping. That seems like a good trade to me.
Yeah. It's there as an option, right? Just like,
yeah.
Just how many times have you seen me use Maw to survive something I shouldn't have done?
Sure, exactly.
Yeah. It happens to all of us. On the subject of cleanse, they said they are working towards making it less hurtful to the healing abilities, like Karazim's change? That has to be a... What? Is that a typo?
Karazim, in a patch 2 weeks ago, received a decrease to his Echo's heal.
Oh, that's what it was.
Which caused that
You're
second
right.
wave to come out. And now you're choosing between that decreased heal and cleanse. So, and Uther, you're thinking about level 7. What would that be on Uther? I believe that's not Protective Shield. That is going to be Cleanse, Clairvoyance, or I guess Wave of Light, but we all go Clairvoyance there, or a Cleanse there. So Uther's not a very good example.
Asterix, most of us take that talent.
Sure, I do the toolbox. There are other styles available.
Yep. Leoric's number may be adjusted, in particular his less used heroic.
I'm not sure which one they were talking about. I assume March of the Black King, because that never sees pro play.
I would agree. No, man, I had a very strange game the other day with Leoric solo tanking who was basically shot calling by throwing down the Entomb and then just kind of leaving.
Leaving it open?
Like, no, like Wraith walking away. after he lands the entomb. I'm just kind of stood there scratching my head. Anyway, doesn't matter. Just made me think of it.
I mean, there is an actual strategy to that. If you go hardened bones and take a step forward, you can leave your ghosted body behind to absorb damage, which there'll be less of it, 25% less of it, and they're locked inside by a body block.
No, he just straight up left.
Oh, it's easy. Just walked away. There you guys go. Here's the platter.
And he just left.
But the salad's running away. Deal with it.
Yeah, absolutely. Malfurion will have less generic talents, but again, not in the near future. So, Jaina, Murky, Asmodan, Cho'Gall, Tassadar, Li Ming are fine.
Apparently. I think Jaina's are the most upset in that.
I think they are too, but I do honestly think Jaina's fine. I think Jaina players just need to learn how to play safer.
And I think we've all learned over the past couple of weeks that Tassadar's doing just fine.
Yeah, honestly, I agree with everything in here except Asmodan.
Right, but that's also just me and my flavor.
And then Cho'Gall, I just don't care because
Sure.
I'm not playing him and I'm not seeing him in games most of the time.
I did fight a Cho'Gall yesterday in solo queue, and they were solo queuing as well.
Oh, really?
So, yeah, it's been brought out a little bit by Heroes of the Dorm because of its popularity there.
Gotcha. Sweet. Karazim may receive changes to Insight. Again, doesn't really sound like it's coming anytime soon, but we'll see.
Nope, they're very happy with his damage spec, his healing spec naturally. Insight is the one that gives you mana restoration, and that's no good.
Yeah, it's very selfish. It's the most selfish way you can build a... No, I'm not trying to say, like, it's the most selfish way you can build a support, or just Karazim in general, but any support. That's a talent that dictates quite a bit for that character, and it literally only helps you. Dealing more damage helps everyone. Healing more helps everyone. Getting more mana back only helps you. Well, I mean, I guess in theory it powers your abilities so you can do more, but it's, I feel like, the least direct in helping the team as a whole. Anyways, Kyle is nodding. Greymane will receive a redesign until his level 7 talent Incendiary Elixir. Incendiary, a word I have always struggled to pronounce.
And one much needed because it's that talent in particular that is dictating the earlier talents and stopping them from being unique. Deals 200% more damage to the enemies it impacts and explodes even when it misses. It's awesome.
Team 1 working as intended.
Yep.
They're targeting talent build staleness with pinpoint precision. And then finally, Kerrigan changes may come soon, or may not. Because Q&A.
Poor girl.
Yeah. I know she's near and dear to your heart. She's also a hero I've wanted to be good with, and I've wanted her to be more mainstream. And I feel she's never been there. It's never been a hero that I've really felt I have any business bringing into Hero League under any circumstance. But I still love her. I really like her kid. I like the way she plays. Not to mention Kerrigan is one of my favorite Blizzard characters ever. So I want to see some changes.
Yeah, there's no reason to counterpick her right now, and it's simply just not fun. I really love the Ravage when you stack your 2 talents together, maybe even 3 talents together on it. But Impaling Blades, Primal Grasp just feel underwhelming.
I agree. Let's thank some Patreons. Let's thank some patrons before we move into strategy and talk about drafting with bands. If you enjoy Into the Nexus, you like what we do here, you want to support the show, head on over to patreon.com/ITN. Give $1, give $2, whatever it is that works for you. If you like the show, that is the best way to support us. This episode, let's thank Everrich, Joshua Hagud, Verbatim, with no E before that R. Patrick Kelly and Eric Wortman, thank you guys so much for supporting the show, especially as moving towards episode 100 and getting all warm and fuzzy and looking back at how Into the Nexus has grown. And it has just been nothing short of incredible seeing the support come in through the Into the Nexus Patreon. So seriously, guys, thank you. This is our job now, Kyle.
I know.
We made it. It's been, what, 5 years? 6 years? How long have we been doing this?
6 years, yes. This July.
This July will mark the 6th year since you and I started podcasting together. That's nuts. It's absolutely nuts.
The stories we could tell.
The stories we could. Oh, the couples quarrels we could share with the world.
The the endless things the poor wives have had to listen to. Not always wives either. They decided to stick with it.
They were
That's their
girlfriends.
fault.
They were both girlfriends at certain points when
They had an out, and now they're stuck.
Yeah, we were too busy fighting with each other like a married couple to bother our girlfriends with married fights. So that's probably why they married us. We gave them an unrealistic expectation because we were just too busy focusing on each other. There's a bromance here, people. If you're not picking it up, there's a bromance here.
There is.
So
Near and dear.
let's talk about drafting with bands.
Choose a talent.
Choose a talent.
Talent? Ah, that seems generous.
Impressive work, hero. I think you're ready for more.
I'm ready for more Uther. Let's get some Uther changes. Why isn't there any Uther changes coming down the line? Let's do that.
I don't know.
That sounds good. So, how's it going for you, Kyle? How you liking bands in a live game?
I'm enjoying it. It's a lot of fun. It's been very rewarding, which is bizarre. You know, we had all these expectations. Granted, some people are facing them. You know, the aggressive bands dealing with tyrannical rulers being in charge of their teams. I've seen a lot of just odd choices. You know, first ban Uther. Lots of first ban Falstads, which, some people just don't want to deal with certain flavors and certain characters. But for the most part, it is Li Ming, Zul, and Illidan being banned out in the first pick.
Yep, same thing for me. I'm really enjoying the ban as well. I like it a lot. I'm loving that I'm not 100% sure what support is going to be picked every game, what assassin is going to be picked every game. Although, just in my short experience with this 1 week, I don't think it's enough to judge anything. But at the moment, at my level, the bans are pretty stale. I can kind of call it.
How's the mid ban, though?
Usually goes for the strong supports, although not always, because I did get Rhaegar twice last night.
Okay, so that's definitely informed by your league. Then the bottom half of the draft are the ones who have to pick up the tank and the support. The guys in the top are taking, their fun characters, their assassins and whatnot.
Yeah.
Sexy specialists.
Yeah, exactly. That's how it kind of goes.
Okay.
So the first bands, it's usually Li Ming, Illidan, in an order that is kind of irrelevant. They both end up getting banned. Then we pick, and then the mid ban comes, and for the most part, it's the supports that get targeted.
That's cool. Then you have an actual strategy too, and one that you can maybe reliably look forward to. Mine is definitely a little more all over the place. Sometimes, basically in my league, it's going to be people picking what they're good at, which is very nice up in rank 1. They're going to, I get early tanks, I get early supports. Just depends on who it is. But we are here to talk about a little bit of drafting strategy and making sure that not only if you are the one banning, you are banning well, but also if you're just picking last, how you can use that information. So, someone's always going to ban first. The idea here is to ban out something that is going to counter your team comp. So hopefully in this first 45 seconds or so, there is a strategy presented. Everyone kind of shows their picks. You get an idea. Maybe that Lost Vikings player down the bottom highlights over that. Okay, cool. Now we're starting to think about Li Ming's, Gray Mains. What's going to take advantage of the XP? Maybe someone shows a certain tank, and you think, okay, cool. What works with that now? What do we have to build around this Dehaka guy? And that's what you should be doing if you are banning first.
That's exactly, it totally happened to us last night.
Yeah, so what can you do? What can you remove from the enemy team that counters what you were up to? If you are going to have that first pick, Lost Vikings, in an informed world, we can get rid of Li Ming now. But the important thing is to not ban something ridiculously overpowered if you go first, because you can assume the enemy is going to do it, and if they don't, you get the OP hero.
Exactly, right? Exactly. So you can ban something that's strong, but not what your first pick wants. So you wouldn't pick Li Ming in that scenario if your first picker says, I've got Li Ming. If they don't ban Li Ming, it's mine.
So really, we should be using our first ban for something like Thrall, or a map-dependent pick, maybe Zagara on Spider Queen, maybe Lunara on Battlefield of Eternity. Just something that's OP for the actual scenario, and then take that juicy Li Ming if she's left by the enemy team.
Yeah.
Your job, if you are the team banning second is to not expose your strategy. The first picker in this philosophy is going to expose a little bit about what they are up to. You may get stuck banning that OP hero in this case, but if you're not, then you can do something that is also general for the map. So don't be pigeonholed by that first ban phase.
Gotcha. Overall, I like what you're talking about so far, because it's kind of stay calm, don't overreact.
Yeah.
Because I was noticing it, because I didn't even think about it at first. Just that very first thing, the ban. If you get to ban first, don't worry about it. Force the other team to ban what you don't want banned, because you'll have the chance to grab it if they don't. Because when this was first added, it didn't really cross my mind. I didn't really take the time before jumping in the Hero League to assess the situation and figure out exactly how the order in which the bans take place affect how you should play the system.
And I was on Spider Queen. I was going to ban Zagara. The guy hollered at me and said, no, I'm first pick. I would love to take Zagara. And I was like, cool. Then we just passed it on. We got rid of Zool in that case. It was up to the enemy team to take Zagara. They didn't, so our team got it. And so if you can have that conversation with your first pickers, you can be in a much better situation. Banning, if you are the banner, the one with the highest MMR for the match, you are not first pick all the time. You could be anywhere in the list.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So, and just to reiterate, from a couple episodes ago when we heard that banning was coming, the person that is banning technically has the highest MMR, correct?
Yes.
Gotcha. Which I still find strange, because we can't actually see it in game.
Nope, we cannot.
But,
so you just have to trust in the system, and Hot Slogs has already been proven wrong in a number of cases as people have gone there and looked up to see if that guy was truly the one carrying the ban. So we'll see into the future here. Of course, once you move out of the two banning phases, I'm just talking about the first two bans of the game, your team, enemy team, you then have your first picks. And now it's your job to maybe reveal a little bit of your strategy, but those first two picks are still just as important as they previously were. If there is a pool of 4 OP heroes, let's get rid of 2 of them and then take the 2 for yourselves. Take one, give it to the other team, whichever one you feel is better. Get those OP heroes on your team. Get those things that, as we talked about before, you have a large loss rate against and a high win rate with.
Yeah, we're starting to dip back into just general drafting strategy that we've talked about in the past. What do you not want to play against? What is it that you are losing to, and what is it that you also know how to play that you don't want to play against? It comes back to that. What can you take away from them?
In an ideal situation, the first 3 picks for each team are going to be the core of your team. Whatever you would want possibly roaming around. Whatever is going to be your tank, support, and your main DPS. Then your last 2 picks can be counter picks. The interesting thing about this is that only goes for the first pick team, because they get to pick 3 before the next ban phase starts. The enemy team in that case gets to pick only 2 before their next ban starts. So the team banning second should actually be a little more squirrely, a little more devious with their early 2 picks. Still get those OP heroes, but don't reveal your strategy in the way of maybe a support or a tank.
Right, exactly. Grabbing a strong mage tells your opponents nothing. It tells them, like, okay, cool, they grabbed a strong hero.
One of the other things to consider when you're picking your early heroes is getting the role you need. And sure, that makes sense. Like I just said, tank, support, whatever. But what about those limited roles? What about the burst? You should probably, if you are a burst player, lock in early, because that's where the mid-ban phase is really going to target. If you don't have a certain role yet and we get to mid-ban, it's going to come down on you. If we see the enemy team has no tank, we look at our team. What tank do we not want to deal with? Blinds, slows, whatever it may be, CCs, and we can ban that out now. If you avoid getting burst or your main lane pushing sustain, Raynor, Falstad, maybe Zagara in those cases, those sort of guys, if you leave that too late, you're going to be pigeonholed once again.
Yeah, you can be punished for not taking pieces of the team puzzle that you need to be picking up.
I think one of the easiest ones to ban out is just getting rid of good supports. So there is a little bit of reason there to take an early support for your team if you are prepared to be good at it.
Yeah.
Because it's just mentally, like just, from a basic understanding of the game, I think we can all identify which supports we don't want to see with X Assassin.
Right, exactly. I saw a first pick Rhaegar in one of my games yesterday, and I didn't disagree with it. Because like I said, in my league, supports are getting banned in the second ban phase, and really it was Rhaegar and it was Morales. So.
And while all the tanks have different roles, like I said, blinding, stunning, whatever it may be, you can generally, as long as the rest of the team comms good, tank with anyone. Support's not quite the same thing.
Correct.
I would not want a Kharazim when I want a Morales.
Yeah. Doesn't really fill the same role. I would say I'm pretty happy with Rhaegar in just about any scenario.
Sure. I don't think there's much reason to be upset about that.
Yeah. So, you want to talk about picking last?
Yeah, and there's a lot of information you can take from everything going around you. You don't have control of the ban in this case. You are picking last, so you have to make a team comp and complete it for your guys. So one of the basic things to look for before you pick that very last guy for the comp is basic positioning. Do you have too many melee heroes, and are you going to clog the fight with what you pick? Pretty simple. This could be an application for Dehaka in the future, right? He can move through characters when he uses Dark Swarm, so maybe we can be a little more heavy in our melee when we have him as the tank. Those sort of things are something you need to consider, even after all the bans are out of the way, when you're just one of those last two picks. Next thing, after you make sure that you're not just going to clog the back line, you're going to have a decent front line, there's enough meat on your team, there's enough damage in the first place, then you need to look at what kind of crowd control you have. Do you have a Stitches that perhaps would require a little bit of follow-up to a hook or something along those lines? Do you have someone who is going to dive real deep, and do you have the right support to get them that deep? A Divine Shield, a Divine Palm, maybe a Serpent build on Lili if they're going to keep overstepping the tanks. What's going on there? One of the last things you want to do is check if you can counterpick. It's pretty late in the game at that point. There might not be many options. Our obvious ones, Zul countering Mega Heals, Li Ming's countering Lost Vikings. Like, those things aren't really going to be around for the later pick, but if you see an opportunity, definitely take advantage of it. If they don't have a support on the enemy team, and there's no support yet, you guys ban a support, one more chance to take yet another hero out of the pool, and something you can take advantage of.
Yeah, absolutely. That was what my Rhaegar pick was doing both times last night. Came back to me, they didn't have a support yet. I'm like, well, fine, I'm taking Rhaegar. See you guys, have fun.
The last thing you need to consider in the short 30 seconds you have before you lock in is, can I actually stay alive versus this enemy comp? While, Hammer might be extremely valuable on Infernal Shrines, do we have a team comp that actually supports this decision? Or am I simply going to get ganked, revealed too often on something like a Zeratul? Or will there not be enough targets to get caught in the blizzard if you land it?
Yeah, those are all really good things. Again, it feels like this ties into what you were saying before, earlier, before we got to talking about picking last. You were saying, make sure you have the pieces that you need. Make sure don't leave all the stuns up. Don't not take a stun and let the enemy get all the stuns. So last picking, you get to fill those pieces in. You get to identify what is missing from your team, and fill it in. So,
and as we discussed over this show and last week, that doesn't have to be a tank if you're not a tank. It does need to be support if you're not support. The core does too much damage, which is what it comes down to. If you lack support, and this is why you may have had those 39-minute Spider Queen games, you simply can't close on the core after a victory. There's no way to freshen everyone up enough to close out.
Yeah, absolutely. Unless you're in some bizarre comp where all 5 of you have good self-healing abilities, but you would have to plan for that, and that would be a very strange thing to plan for.
It would be, and they would all be self-reliant. I can't think of any assassin or specialist that heals other people. I mean, we got rid of Asmodan's healing ward. That doesn't help anyone anymore.
We will just have to wait for Soldier 76 to be added to Heroes of the Storm.
Oh yeah, that would work, wouldn't it?
Yeah, although, yeah, you can make them different. So, I was going to say, looks kind of Rainery just running around with his big gun, but whatever. It's fine. So overall, you're happy? You're happy with bans? Because I'm very impressed out the gate, I must say.
I'm very happy. The system seems to be working well. I would love more transparency in those MMR questions, but you know what? It's a very fun strategical decision to make right now.
I agree, man. I agree. Aw, Mum Monkey in the chat room says it's the first time they're catching this live, and your face looks nothing like what they pictured in their head, Kyle.
Oh, no.
Is it good or bad? Is it good or bad? What about mine? Or maybe you've actually tuned in the Angry Chicken before, so you know what I look like, but not into the Nexus. Who knows? All right, Kyle. Well, that brings us to the end of strategy, and I think we're just going to have to push emails next week because we are at time, and we started late because of technical difficulties, and we still have to get our butts kicked by our patrons in some after-show games. So we will go ahead and push emails to next week. Send in some fun emails, by the way. It is the 100th episode. You know, send in just some fun questions, whatever it is. Send them in, itncast@gmail.com. And don't forget to send in sound bites if you want to talk to us about why you like Into the Nexus, why it's important to you. Those are great, too, for 100th episodes. We really do appreciate those. We also appreciate our badass patrons who are directly supporting us. They have helped us achieve our goal of making podcasting our full-time job. So thank you, guys. If you want to support Into the Nexus, if you want to become a patron, go to patreon.com/ITN. And also keep those 5-star review iTunes reviews coming if you listen on iTunes. We did get a couple new ones this week. Thank you to Daddy O'Dan, who said, "Not since Shakespeare has a show been so amazeballs." Love it. Garrett and Kyle keep it salt-free and are awesome contributors to the community.
Aww.
Kyle keeps it salt-free. I bring the salt. You need a little salt. Otherwise, it's bland.
That's true.
Also, thank you to Junko Junsia. Thank you for your 5-star reviews. Into the Nexus is produced by eMove.tv and our Patreon producers Declan H. and Cheesy Bob. Get our coffee mugs, pint glasses, and other swag over at bit.ly/amovestore. Got new coffee mugs, full color, cheaper than the last ones. Less expensive. Cheaper sounds bad. Less expensive.
Well, we need to throw that out there because in a day of green screen, coffee mugs are really important to showing your nerddom.
They are. They really are. Also, don't get a green coffee mug if you're using a green screen, and don't get a blue one if you're using a blue screen. Catch us live every Thursday night at 8 p.m. Eastern over right here, twitch.tv/amovetv or on alphageekmedia.com. Make sure to tune in next week, guys. I want everyone in here. It's our 100th episode. Come celebrate with us. Come possibly win an Asmodunk poster courtesy of Blizzard and Team 1. Yeah, man, I'm stoked for it. Bring it on. Follow us on Twitter at ITNcast, and big fat thanks to Brian Griffith for our intro music. Check out his work at briangriffithmusic.com. Kyle, where can folks find you?
You can find me on Twitter at Kyle Ferguson. You can find me on YouTube at youtube.com/Kyle Ferguson. Check out this week's solo Q&A. It's all Hero League. It's all banning. I know. I haven't said the rule for a while, but I used to do a thing where I would avoid Hero League for like 2 weeks when new heroes would come out or when there was new systems in place, but that died. For your entertainment and for your knowledge.
I was about to say, you kind of have to kill that, right? You have to kill it for the health of your stream.
Well, and for the sharing of knowledge and having these important experiences that I can share on this show. So I had a lot of fun getting in there this week, and just a few days ago. I've also added a new option to my website. If you're interested in Heroes of the Storm coaching, I am a Heroes of the Storm coach, and there are some new options available there for those who might be looking for a little more interaction in their lessons.
Nice. Totally awesome. More interaction. I'll have to look this up. I want to see what this is.
It's a longer lesson.
Oh, gotcha.
Often we spend the first hour just going over so much information. I reviewed your replays. I'm just bombarding you with facts. And then it's like, all right, digest those okay? And the guy's like, yeah, okay. All right. And time's up. So now we can actually spend some more time, apply them in game, be hands-on, and help work those into our minds because learning is hard.
It is. It is.
It's really hard. And it's very personal.
Yes, because it's one-on-one.
Oh, well, yeah, the lesson is. But I just mean the process of learning.
Well, yes,
it's tough.
Everyone learns different.
You expose yourself. You got to be okay with being wrong.
And you don't want us exposing ourselves. You can follow me on Twitter at Garrett Art. Check out The Angry Chicken for Hearthstone. Check out The Angry Nerd, which is my solo show. Most recent episode is up right now. I talked about Batman vs. Superman. I talked about more on The Division, hitting max level in that game, and taking your emails. that show has been really a lot of fun. I've been really enjoying hearing from you guys. It has its own Patreon now, so go check out the Angry Nerd and come chat with me. And just because we aren't running ads at the top of the show anymore doesn't mean that we still don't have codes to give you guys. Go to doghousesystems.com, use the code ITN, and get a free 120 gigabyte solid-state drive added onto your rig. And you can also use the code ITN over at tweakedaudio.com to get 30% off and free shipping off of your entire order of noise-reducing earbuds from Tweaked Audio. We thank them for their support. We thank you guys for listening for 99 episodes so far. I got 99 problems, Kyle, but a Heroes of the Storm podcast ain't one. Good luck and have fun, everyone.
Take care.